The arbitration reward is a very nice decision from a nice court of law, but most of the time it's not enough.
So one of the services provided by your company is debt relief to commodity trading. So maybe you can start off by introducing how these debts can be made.
Okay, then in commodity trading, sometimes goods are sold on credit. Then obviously it means that the buyer has to pay the goods maybe later on. Then the debt can arise sometimes because if he doesn't pay, then you have a problem. Also, even if the buyer is opening a letter of credit to buy a goods, sometimes the goods can be not priced. Meaning, for instance, if you open a letter of credit on a provisional price to buy sugar, and then you still need to price the sugar against a commodity exchange market, then also you can have a price difference at the end, which the buyer has to pay. If you decide not to pay, then you can be out of money, and then you will have to get this price difference back. Also, you have sometimes change of terms, or sometimes the buyer and the seller will not agree on some charge that at the destination, who's going to pay for this charge, discharging charge or port charges, and then one can go and claim those charges to the other. Also, you have interest in terms if the buyer is late in paying some of the charge, or even the price difference, or even some goods and credit, there can be some interest. Then debt can arise in many cases, and most of the time, if the two parties are okay, there's no debt. But the problem is that if sometimes in first transactions, you tend to trust the counterparty, and if the counterparty is not trustworthy, then you end up having a debt.
And talk us through the action between the two parties. So what are some of the first steps that can be made before the debtor?
The first thing is to first go back and ask for the payment, maybe to remind it a couple of times until it reaches to a certain point where it is obvious that the counterparty is not willing to pay back. Then the first thing to do is to bring him to court. Most of the time in contracts, you have the mention where arbitration should happen. Then you should bring the counterparty to arbitration. Most of the time, the arbitration is in London. Then you bring him to this arbitration court, and then there's a legal fight, and you get your interest defended by lawyers. At the end, you might end up with a reward or with an arbitration court decision.
So these arbitrations, do they actually work in regards to, do they get the money back eventually?
The arbitration reward is a very nice decision from a nice court of law, but most of the time it's not enough. Not enough because the counterparty lying in somewhere in Africa or in Asia, you can send him a copy of this decision, it will not change his life. And no, it's not enough. After you have won a decision, you need to do something. And what you need to do will depend on what you will do. It will depend on how far and how strong you want the money back. If you want the money back, you will bring all the resources that you have internally, or maybe you will seek for help externally, like help from a company like mine, to recover the debt. Then it really depends on how strong you want the money back. And if you want the money back, you have to invest into resources, internally or externally, to go and meet the debtor, face him, put him in front of his responsibility, and to force him, to convince him to pay back.
And you're right in that it is quite a lot of resources, both time and financially.
Yeah.
So finally, to wrap it up, debt recovery, is it mission impossible or mission possible?
But it's a mission possible, at least for me. I don't know for my competitors. I believe they are also successful. because what happened is that if you want to recover debt, you like you said, we need to deploy a lot of resources, and we need to go on the spot. We need to go and meet the debtor. We need to show the debtor that this debt is now having a face, my face or the face of my team people, and to go and say that, to repeatedly, continuously repeat that we want the money, to be consistent, persistent, and for sure we are not going there for a fight. We are going there just to make sure that our own right, the right of our customer, we are bringing it to the face of the debtor and to convince him to pay. And to have the authority, we have the legal authority because there's a court decision. We have the spiritual authority because we are doing the right thing. And we are having all kind of authority to make sure that the debt is paid.
Well, thank you so much for coming in today and sharing your insights.
Thank you.
That's all from us here in the Geneva studios. But if you did like this interview, then do like and comment on Dukascopy.tv.